Considering your work in social media strategy and personal development, how do you envision the future of human interaction as technology continues to evolve and advance?
Human interaction, I think, will always... I don't ever see a day where technology replaces that. Like, even how good tech will continue to get, I think the human element of all senses is still going to be a thing forever. So I think that it can be easy to fear technology and how much time people are spending online. To me, it doesn't worry me. Like, I don't get worried about that. I feel like it only enhances us and will make the moments that we have together even better. And looking back at that history and seeing all the different advances that have come out, it seems like everything has been good for us. So I kind of adopt that mindset.
Do you think it enhances life because of how you have created a relationship with it, and some people it doesn't?
Yeah. Like, I think my relationship with technology, here's the thing. I think you get to choose. I think you get to choose what your relationship to technology is. Instagram, TikTok, all of these social platforms are empty, and you get to choose what you put on them and what you consume from them. So it's a tool, and it's a tool that can be used for insane good, and it's a tool that can be used for insane destruction. You get to be in control of that. And I feel like that's how it is for most technology. I think that there's, like, a car can be used for really good. It can also be used to run somebody over. So I think that you get to choose the way that technology is interfacing into your life. I try to find the best possible scenarios of all the new advancements and look at ways that it can improve for me.
Walk me through how you think about leveraging technology, specifically because I know, myself included, when we were talking about setting this up here, wanting to record something or document your life can have this disconnect where you're like, what do I record? What content do I shoot? Why do I do this? How do I talk about it? How do you think about the process of A, shooting content, but B, utilizing technology to enhance your life?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. The way that I look at using tech to enhance my life is tech has genuinely helped my life. Like, I look at, if I didn't have a phone or a camera or social media, like, I don't even know where my life would be. My life would be in such a drastically different place. The majority of the good things that have happened in my life have happened through technology. So I have such a profound love for tech because it has allowed me a completely different lifestyle than I would have lived without it. So that's the way that I look at it. The way that I go into actually shooting content and, like, what I think about when I'm filming is, the first thing that I probably think about is what do I want to share with the world? What is my intuition telling me that I feel like I want to step into? So that's the first question. And the second question is usually like, who is this for? Who do I want to share this with? Those are the two things that I ask. Like, what do I want to do? Who am I doing it for? And then I just do it. It's the same way as me showing up to a coffee shop and saying hi to somebody that is random, that I don't know, and me telling them about my interests. It's just done at such a different level and different magnitude that you can't do in person. And that's the way that I feel about it, is like, it's allowed me to live in such a different way because of the people that I can reach. So I love filming content, and I love technology.
Do you alter who that person is that you film for each specific piece of content? Or have you created I'm talking to my sister, and that's the way that I've been able to go deeper into the content?
It's a great question. I would say I go through moments where it's like, I know I'm specifically making this for the 23-year-old version of myself that was leaving hockey and needed to know what to do in the business world and needed advice like this. Sometimes it's very specific like that. Other times it's more general. It's like, I'm making this for creators, or I'm making this for creators that are just starting making content. So I'd say it ebbs and flows. It's not always the exact same person, but those people all usually have a similarities with each other, which makes up, like, my demographic that I feel like I'm talking to, if that makes sense. Yeah. Sometimes it's different people. It's not always the exact same person, but I'll say this, getting clear on who it is before I make the video, that is always something that I try to do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say the 23-year-old version of you that is leaving hockey looking for what to do next. And I feel like a lot of people would view that as a very small segment, or that you're the only person who's ever gone through that experience.
Yeah.
But from knowing you outside of social a bit, and from seeing what you put on social, you also can see that there's a lot of people who have had that exact same experience who are now able to relate to your story because they've experienced, doesn't have to be hockey, but it could be sports. They're 23 and they're trying to figure out their way, or they had a loss of something that then transitioned them into thinking about social the same way that you do. And then it gives, in my perspective, you a way to connect with people in a much, much deeper way too.
Yeah. Dude, I think I think getting clear on one person and speaking to that person, it will get to the other people that are tangential to that. I just think when you are clear on that one person, it makes it, your energy shows up different than when you're talking to 18 different people that are all in different walks of life. So I feel like you just said, me speaking to that version of me, do I think that it is only going to apply to the 50 or 100 people that see it that might have gone through that exact experience? No, I think it will be a bullseye for those people. And I think that all of the people that touch around it, it'll be maybe 90% of the way there, versus if I'm trying to talk to all of those people, it ends up being like a watered down 20% for all of them.
Was that something that you had to figure out through trial and error, or was
1,000%. Bro, when I first started filming content, I had no idea what I was doing. When I first started talking into the camera, I was nervous. I was unsure of how to show up. I was unsure of how much energy I should have, or what. I was unsure what angles. I was unsure who I was talking to. I didn't know any of that. I saw a video some lady posted named Virginia Kerr, who's like a person that helps you make content. And her video is like two things. One, try standing up so you can put more energy into your content. And number two, talk like you're talking to one person. You're not talking to an audience. You're speaking to one person that's on the other side of the screen. Those two things, I tried both of them. Standing up, I think, is a good thing for people to try. But the second one, that was like a home run for me. Thinking about like, oh shit, I'm just speaking to only one person here. And yes, it's going to resonate with a lot, but I want this one person to feel this so much. Just my energy completely changed. Because I think if you think about it, when you're on a stage performing for an audience, there's like this feeling of like needing to be big, and I need to like show and like be I need to like
theatrical.
Exactly. When you're just talking to one person, it's a convo. It's like, I'm speaking to you. I don't need to be bigger or smaller or anything. It's just me and you. And I think that people can feel that more when they're scrolling and they see it. So that was how I started filming all of my videos, and it just started hitting. And I started getting comments from people being like, I really feel like you were speaking to me in that. And I'd be like, I am speaking to you. You're the person that
it worked.
Exactly.
It worked.
Exactly.
It's interesting you say standing up as well, because that was a big hack for me when things shifted online. I got a standing desk, and having the standing desk allowed me to be more emotive in what I was talking about. And I recognized that when I would sit, prior to having that experience, I would shrink. And I would start to have a conversation, and by the end of the conversation, I'm like super small and not actually conveying the point across that I wanted to. So I shifted things to standing, and then I shifted things to, when I could, walking meetings. So I would take calls outside and go for a walk, or I would meet with someone and then like have something where we were able to interact physically, which is why I love the sauna too, because granted you're sitting, but you're going through a shared experience, and you're actually then able to connect deeper, because it's not this very transactional, I do this, I want this piece back and forth.
That's cool. I would say I also really like standing. At the beginning for me, it felt impossible to stand. Like it felt like the comfort of me sitting and like filming a video like this it felt like I needed that experience to then eventually be able to stand and actually like feel the confidence of like standing. So I would say, if you can stand, yes, I really do recommend it. Some people might need to go through the process of just like filming 50 videos sitting and being uncomfortable, just doing it any way that you can. And then you just like build up that repetitions to the point where you do stand, and then you get in front of people when you're starting speaking, and it's a repetitions thing. It really is like a muscle that you build. And I think anybody can develop it.
Walk me through the process when you first started out creating content. Did you set a structure for how much you wanted to put out into the world, or what you wanted to create? or was there any type of strategy of how I want to go about actually cultivating this practice?
I first started creating when I was like, I'll consider when I retired from hockey and started doing personal training, that was when I started creating. I was filming my workouts. I was posting to clients. I was filming my food and all of that I was eating. What I wanted to do then was post every day and post as much as possible. Because what I started seeing happen was Sam, my fiance, started posting content around the same time in wellness. She was posting every single day, multiple times a day, because she was super passionate about it. And when I saw that working for her, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is the blueprint. I'm seeing how it's working. I'm seeing the cadence. The challenge that I think I had was when I started doing personal training, I didn't have the passion for it that she had. So I was posting once a day and trying to post multiple times a day, but there was something inside me that was like not enjoying it. So I couldn't do it. So I was like, it was like this stuck feeling of like, I know I want to be doing this more, but there's something that's keeping me from doing this. So I'm not going to force it. So I didn't post as much as her. It wasn't until I actually found the thing that I really enjoyed, which is speaking about content and teaching people about marketing. It wasn't until I found that I was like, oh, I actually have the energy to do this multiple times per day. And I think that a lot of people, the process that they need to go through first is really just trying to find the thing that you enjoy, because I couldn't force it. And I think me trying to force it when it wasn't the actual thing that I really enjoyed wouldn't have served me, like it wouldn't have been successful, and it wouldn't have served me in that way anyway. So the better usage of my time, which is what I did, was, all right, I'm actually just going to spend more time testing out a bunch of different things and seeing what it is that I like. And then once I landed on the thing that I really enjoyed, which is what I'm doing now the energy that I have to film is there. It's like, it doesn't feel like a hurdle to go and film a video. It doesn't feel like a hurdle for me to go and like talk into the camera. There's energy for it. And I think a lot of people might be facing where they don't actually have the energy for it. And I don't think that that's a tactical thing of like, you need a camera or you need lighting or you need, circumstances to be different. I think it's more of what's the actual energy that you have towards this, because it might not be there. And maybe if you had something that you did, none of that stuff would matter.
So you think it's more about starting out throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks from an energetic standpoint?
1,000%.
Yeah.
Dude, the way I would say this is you can have we're in a beautiful studio. If you have a beautiful studio, but you don't actually enjoy it, that studio is not going to get you anywhere. We're on the opposite side of things. If you have like a real enjoyment, you can be successful with just an iPhone. So I think and then if you find success with an iPhone and you add the production on top of it, that's when I think you have like real success, is when there is real energy and it's not dependent on the external environment, but then you put yourself in a great environment. That's where I think real magic can happen. But the first thing is focus on the energy around the actual substance of what you're doing, and the rest will come.
No, that's actually really interesting. So it's for...
This is why I was so obsessed with TikTok, because TikTok removed everything for everybody. It was like before that, Instagram was built on the filter and like your aesthetic and like the grid and all of that. That was how Instagram was created, and that was what worked on Instagram. And now it's even gone back to that now. But TikTok came out and it was like literally no aesthetic. The only thing that matters in the TikTok is the substance of what you're talking about or what you're sharing. That's it. That's the only merit. For me, I was like, that's incredible, because the people that will have success will actually have either things to share, be really passionate about something, give off energy just from them being themselves that the audience will resonate with. There's no fluff there's no like production around it. I loved that, because I think that that's what most people should focus on, and it eliminated any excuse. Instagram, so many people didn't start on Instagram and post on Instagram because there was the excuse of, I don't have this set, and I don't have the aesthetic, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, which maybe there even was some truth to that, but there was a lot of insecurity wrapped up in that Instagram cut out. So the people that actually went hard on Instagram, a lot of them were just people that were like, I feel good with myself. I don't need a set. I don't need lighting. I don't need any of this. I'm just going to put myself out there. And the success they would see would be validating for them and their beliefs and who they are. And so I loved TikTok because of that. I was like, this is amazing that people don't need to go out and like do anything external. They just literally need the phone they have in their pocket to have success. And I think even though TikTok isn't as popular as I would even say Instagram is in this moment, I still think the ethos of that is something that really is true for me. And I think for everybody, that you still can have success with just a phone. And I would almost urge people to like, not necessarily try and find it with a phone, but at least feel comfortable in yourself that the success that you have is not determined on the external things. It's you with your own thoughts, your own beliefs, and all of those things are the just the car that gets you the vehicle that gets you to be seen in that way. But it comes from within.
Because TikTok removed the reason for people to try and add production value to the quality of what they're putting out.
Yes.
What I was going to say is I think that it's fascinating that in life we always think the external is what's going to get us to the next place, but it's often actually the game of subtraction and going internal.
Yes.
And TikTok led to an internal monologue that someone was able to then dictate, rather than they believe the external on Instagram initially was what was going to get them to the success that they quote unquote wanted. But what they actually wanted was something that was conditioned, not actually what they wanted to talk about. Therefore, there was no alignment in what it is that they were sharing.
Yes, 100%.
So you speak a lot about intuition, and that's something that's very important to you as well. In relation to alignment, how do you know when something is no longer in alignment that maybe was prior?
That's a fantastic question. I feel like for me, it's checking in with my body and seeing alignment. For me feels like sorry for swearing, it feels like a fuck yes in my body. It just kind of feels like yeah, this works, yeah, this feels good. Out of alignment can show up in a variety of ways. Some of are like, it can show up in my body kind of shutting down. Resistance for me can feel like super tired. It can feel like, for example, let's use like learning how to use a camera for as an example. If my body was like, this is out of alignment for me, the energy for me to go and do that would feel, it would feel like my body just completely drains. And it won't feel like, for me, it won't feel like this energy of this is something I need to push through, which I think is great. And that can be alignment. It will feel like, no, I literally have no energy towards this. So I would say I check in with my body a lot. I'm asking myself, how am I feeling towards this? Sometimes it kind of feels like this like weird, almost, I don't want to say gross, but just kind of like this uncomfortable feeling in my body where it just feels like this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. So in a very long-winded way, I would say checking my body.
Do you think that there are, so I understand pushing through something to get to that point where then it starts to flow. Do you think that there are elements of not just your work, but work in general that you need to push through to get to that place?
Yes.
Or do you think you delegate that from the get?
It's so not black and white, where like there's some things that I think that you should push through on that will be really beneficial to you. And there's other things that are like you genuinely don't want to or need to or have to push through. And it actually is better to delegate. It's so impossible for me to be like, everything you should do this or this. I think it's dependent. But I'll say this.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, a big part of me creating my TikTok account from zero as in my business account is after we had success with Honey House, after I had done a personal account, me being like, I am going to start talking about business tactics on TikTok. A big part of me doing the first 100 videos was every day me showing up and my body feeling physically uncomfortable in almost like a feeling of jumping in an ice bath, of like just, it was the uncomfort of good uncomfort versus this is not the right thing uncomfort. It was good uncomfort. It was like my body's feeling this, but my mind and my heart and all of me is like, yes. Not my mind and my heart being like, no, bro, this is not the right thing. So every day I would show up and I'd be like, I am posting 3 videos today. I don't know what I'm going to post, but I'm going to film 3 videos and I'm going to post 3 videos. And my body would be like, this is hard. This feels weird. We're putting ourselves out there. We don't know if this is going to perform. We don't know if this is going to fail. And my heart and my mind would be like, yes, let's go. Pushing through that was the way that I built everything I built. It was the way I built. It was literally that feeling of uncomfort and pushing through was the way that I started doing the consulting. I felt that same way getting on consulting calls for the first time with brands and trying to be the person that's going to tell them what they need to be doing on social, and they're paying me for it. It was the time I started recruiting people, public speaking. All of these moments are like uncomfort that feels like a fuck yes. And I think I think that's incredible. I think you should push through those.
Do you think that's innate for you or that's been learned?
I don't think it's always something that I did. We were talking about going to Russia before. I think that was a big thing that I learned probably from hockey. Not probably, for sure from hockey, with some coaches that pushed me harder than others, and then coaches that were just the right amount that actually taught me how to like push myself. So I think I learned it from there. And then I think I left there and jumping into the real world of I'm no longer playing hockey and now I'm on my own 2 feet and I don't have a job and I don't have money saved and I don't have any sort of backup plan. Now I'm the person that's responsible for my livelihood. So I got to put myself in these situations. And I think that in those situations, I learned how to navigate it.
I think that's right there. You hit nail on the head, is taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. And I think there's similarities in our lives, but then a lot of differences. And I think the piece that has led to that same mentality or thought process, at least from my perspective, is the willingness to become the victor of circumstances, not the victim to them. And when you shift that thought process that everything that I do is either in some way leading me towards what is in alignment meant for me, or it's giving me the lesson that's going to help propel me and protect me towards that, or saying, okay, well, I fucked up and now I got to take responsibility and figure out how to get to where I want to go. Mm-hmm. That then shifts everything, because now you're in control of your life. You're not, someone's got to come save me and get me to where I want to go next.
It's a fantastic point. I feel like at times when I was playing hockey, I leaned towards more of the world is out to get me, and I am in a position that like it's not my fault, and almost like a victim mentality. And I would say that at some point in my hockey career, it clicked for me. I am the person that is responsible. Like I have to be accountable for this. Bro, every single person goes through hard things. Every single person has been put in circumstances in their life that were unfortunate, that they did not have control of. And yes, you might have even been an actual victim in circumstances, but what are you going to do? Like, are you going to allow that to dictate the rest of your life? And I think for me, I had moments in hockey where I was like, okay, that scenario was hard. That person actually wasn't a great person. But at the end of the day, none of them, my parents, my friends, nobody is coming to actually do the reps for me and put in this work for me and pull me out of this place that I'm in. I have to do this. So it was having that understanding and then being like, how do I do it? What do I do? Cool, I'm going to show up. Cool, I'm going to start working out, or I'm going to start putting in the reps to get myself out of this place. And just from going through those experiences, now I feel like I enjoy being accountable. I enjoy being the person. I don't want anybody else to come and save me. I'm like, I want to do this. I'm the person that I want the accountability.
The satisfaction that comes from it is exactly what you're striving for, and your response is your responsibility rather than reacting to it in some way. I remember when I first started in business, I would always be like, well, when I get this amount of money then, or when I make this, all of this problem will go away. And then I recognized that every time there was another rung on the ladder climbed, that it was just the exact same thing repeating itself until the point that I recognized within myself that no, when I get to that place, nothing's going to be solved. It's just going to be a bigger expanse of the exact same problem until you shift your mindset around how you're thinking about the problem at hand.
That's interesting. And I agree completely. I would say for me, it was never like, this will change when I get there. For me, it's always been like, I need to figure this out right now because I know that nothing's going to change for me from seeing other people that would go. I'll give you an example. I would see players that would be like, when I get to the next level, my life's going to change and everything's going to be okay. And they would get to the next level and I would talk to them and they would still be miserable. or they would still be talking about the same challenges and problems that they had here before. And that for me was like, oh, it's not the setting. It's not the thing that's going to happen. It's not the thing that's going to come. More money, more whatever. It's not that. It's the mindset that you have in the place that you're in. So I need to work on this right now. And then the next thing becomes like an even bigger way for me to celebrate and like enjoy who I am, and all of those things actually work for me, rather than, like you were saying, the next level being like just a bigger example of the misery that you're in.
How much of that mindset stemmed from being around professional athletes growing up? I've
never got asked that. I would say I definitely took ways that I look at the world and like different qualities from my dad and from people that I was around. I don't know about how much of the actual like professional mindset I took on from other athletes, because I don't even think that the athletes that I got to grow up around, I didn't even look at them as like, these guys are the best in the world. I just looked at them as like, these are people that are around our house. So I think the determination of me to like be a pro hockey player was, in the love for the game, was a big quality. But I'm not sure about actually like the way that I look at things under the surface.
Because I view it through a lens of osmosis. Whether you're viewing it as I'm learning this in this moment from this person, or subconsciously I'm seeing how they're modeling the world, and then now as a child and even as an adult, you then take how someone was modeling something and you subconsciously or unconsciously start to model that into your life. And the whole cliche, the 5 people you surround yourself with kind of philosophy, but more so, I see it through the lens of, you can read every book on the topic. You can go to the Barnes & Noble and pull out the Navy SEAL section, or you can go down whatever path you want to go. But until you're around people who are doing the thing, once you do the thing, you're able to say, oh, fuck, that person's doing it. Now it's unlocked this new thought that it's actually possible. It's not just some theoretical thing that I've read in a book that someone I have no connection to has actually done, and therefore it doesn't exist for me.
You know, that when you were just talking about surrounding yourself, I think a big part of me getting out of the whatever mindset it was where I was not looking at myself as like, I can do this, I think a big part of that was filling myself with other people that were uplifting and were living the way that I wanted to. When I went to Russia, my entire day was filled with me listening to YouTube videos of people like Gary Vee and different motivational speakers and people that I felt like, oh, this is uplifting, because exactly like you were just saying, through osmosis, I do think that there was a ton of people that I was around that also shared similar victim-y mindsets around me. And getting out of that, like breaking from that habit of thinking that way or like feeling that way about myself, required me to remove myself from that situation mentally and like be constantly listening to uplifting, whether that's affirmations, whether that's Gary Vee, whether that's Joe Dispenza, whether that's whoever it was, different people that played roles at different moments. But when I'm like, where do I want to be? I go, yeah, who is doing that right now? And how do I spend as much time listening to them or consuming or being around them? Because that's going to pull me closer to them.
How do you know when someone is in your life that shouldn't be? How do you know when's the time to pull them out?
Probably intuition. I think it's, again, me checking in with myself. It's probably practicality of, okay, this isn't just like a feeling thing. This is like a circumstance thing where I am visually able to see that this person and my ideal life are not in alignment anymore. They're telling me that they want to go and do this, and I know that I want to go and do this. So I think that there's probably a little bit more practicality there. But it probably starts with intuition of being like, I just feel like in hockey, I felt like there's more for me to do. There was this feeling of like, there's more for me to do. And it doesn't feel like this is it. I didn't know what exactly it was, but it doesn't feel like this is it. So I think it starts with probably like a little trickle of like intuition. And then I think the universe starts to show you more clear examples of it. So like I just said, in-person conversations where I'm like, oh, they're talking about where they want to go with their life. I know that I want to go a different way. it also doesn't need to be black and white. Like I've gone through periods of my life where I've needed to have boundaries with individuals or family or friends or whatever. But it also doesn't need to be like this forever in black and white where it's like I'm cutting people out of my life for good. Sometimes it's just like I need a little bit of space, and I'm gonna focus. Rather than me scrolling on Instagram, I'm gonna go and listen to YouTube, and I'm gonna put more time into like something that's uplifting rather than checking in on like how my friends are doing. It can be as subtle as that. It doesn't need to be so drastic. But yeah, choosing what to do with your time and energy is really important.
Talk to me a little bit about relationships, because I think that you in life and business are phenomenal at creating, cultivating, and deepening relationships with people. And that's something that I've seen from the Little Lunch days to fucking grade school and
Thank you.
And from there on. The start with personal. How do you think about meeting, expanding, and deepening relationships in a way that fulfills you?
I am naturally very curious, so I something that like genuinely fuels me is learning about what makes other people them. So I could go to a coffee shop and have 30 conversations with people just saying, "What's up? What do you do? What's fun for you? Where are you from? What's your family like? What do you do for work?" And like the energy that I would get from doing that is like, it fuels me. Like that some people it doesn't. Some people would get drained from doing that. That curiosity of just like learning is something that genuinely fuels me. So that's one part of it. I just have a natural curiosity. The second part of it is, I think at some point I realized from myself, from probably living a long period of time away from family, playing hockey, and like with a bunch of other people that were doing the same, of living away from their family, playing hockey. I think I just realized that a lot of people just want to have people that care about them. They just want to feel like loved and supported. They want to feel like their thoughts and ideas have a place to be heard, and like just want to feel like safe and like good with other people. That when that became more clear for me, it became very easy for me to go and meet people and like make friends. I think I was naturally making friends, but I never even really, it wasn't like a conscious thing for me. Once I started realizing like, wait, these are the things everybody wants. Even if you're talking about business, you're talking about money, you're talking whatever, most people want to feel safe and loved and cared for and heard. And so I think the way that I'm able to build relationships is I genuinely care for people, and I think that that's something that I didn't practice. That was something I naturally was born with, which is caring for people. And I lead with curiosity, and I have also a born natural talent or skill set of some sort of pattern recognition of being able to kind of see if like some people might be friends with each other based off of interests. This is something that I feel like I learned from my dad, is some sort of creative. When I look out at the world and I see people, I'm able to see like this person hangs with these people, does this for work, enjoys this kind of thing, almost like a map. And when I meet other people, it kind of pops up for me that I'm like, oh wait, this person might connect with this person on this interest. Like very like weirdly, that kind of happens for me. So I think it's a makeup of those couple of things. Like I genuinely care for people. I know that other people just want to feel loved. I'm really curious about what people are up to. And then when I do hear about what other people are up to, I'm able to kind of connect them and be like, hey, you should be friends with this person. You should meet this person. So in a very, very long way.
You're connecting the dots based on how you showed up, what you've heard, what you've seen, and then other people that may be interested in connecting with them as well.
Yeah. And that's happened for me always. That's always been a thing. That's why I've ran in so many different circles all the time since I was growing up. I've had all different kinds of friend groups because something clicks for me when I meet somebody, that I meet somebody in a different friend group and I'm like, dude, you got to meet this person over here. You guys will hit it off. And it could be an emotional thing, like both of you are going through this. Or it could be like both of you love sports cards, or like I don't know, but something connects for me.
What's interesting too is psychologically speaking, the person that does the connection or the person that gives the gift to say you connect me with someone else, we both associate you as the person that connected us, which then strengthens our community in relation to you as well.
So interesting.
Which is fascinating because it's this whole kind of communal, I'm sure there's some evolutionary thing that I don't know about in there, but I'm sure within the community piece of it, by you being this connector of individuals, it also strengthens the community that surrounds you as well. Fascinating.
Dude, I honestly, I wish I had a more tactical thing for people to be able to do it. I feel like it's something that I feel like I'm just really lucky to have the DNA of, because I didn't practice, none of that shit that I was just talking about did I practice. Maybe like the me going to therapy and understanding everybody wants to just feel loved is something that I have practiced. But like all this stuff, all of that other stuff of connecting people and being naturally curious, like that to me is just something that I was born with, that I'm just super lucky to. So when I am able to connect people in a place like Little Lunch, I feel so fired up. Like that gives me such a rush to know, wait a minute, these people just met and now they hit it off and now they're homies. I fucking love that. That makes me so excited and I can't take any credit for it.
Taking a quick break from this episode to remind you that your inputs matter. This show was designed and created to help you build a high-performing, healthy, wealthy life. So if you feel that you're getting value from this episode, please go ahead and share it with someone that you feel would get value as well. Now, fun fact, 90% of listeners of this show are not actually subscribed to the podcast. So if you would take a moment and go ahead and tap the subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Now back to the show. Talk to me the same thing, but in relation to business. In an environment, in an economy that views transactionalness as the way to get ahead in business, how have you shifted that towards a more relational approach?
This is a really good one. I feel like that's the way that I feel like the same instance of connecting people and all that is the way that I have built my business to the way that it is today. It's been through me seeing different patterns or different like ways that people are going about things and connecting different people, or seeing different ideas and connecting different ideas. TikTok, raw, like authentic. You have an authentic story as a company. You guys should do that on that platform. It's the same kind of connective tissue. The challenge for me is the transactional part. The kryptonite of the relational building for me is for it to ever feel for me that it is transactional. So like if anybody were to, if any bit in a business setting, if any people did feel like I am using those different ways to transact, it shuts me down completely, full stop. So I would say the challenge with my business is I probably could have a bigger business if I was using it in that sort of a way of like, how do I build a business? But it feels so inherently not natural for me to do it that I actually would say that I probably leave a lot of transactional money on the table because I just only want it to feel authentic. And yeah.
But the goal at the end of the day, and this is the differentiation in business, is a lot of people think the goal at the end of the day is building the biggest business possible. But really the goal within entrepreneurship, within business, is creating the lifestyle that you desire. And if the lifestyle you desire is one of relationalness, the transactionalness can go out the window because you're able to create the community, the lifestyle, the business, everything that surrounds you with exactly the lifestyle and the people that you want to be in relation with.
That's my philosophy, but that's not everybody's though. Some people literally have a goal of, I want to build a ginormous business and I don't give a fuck what it takes to get there. That's not my philosophy. And I think it's not even like I get lost in it. It would just be like the same osmosis thing. If I'm around 50 people that are all talking about, I want to build the biggest startup and sell my company, and that's the only conversations that are going on, there's moments where I'm like, geez, am I doing this wrong by wanting to just keep it small and caring and like enjoy my lifestyle and like not have to just sprint all the time? I have moments where I'm like, granted, I never follow those, but I would say that by being around, if I spend too much time around people that are going in that direction, to me, I end up in this place where it's not even getting hard on myself. It almost is just like, I just kind of end up in this place where I'm like, shoot, like, how do I want to do this differently. Does that mean that I can't be close to these people because they're doing it differently? I don't know. It gets a little confusing. But I agree. The way that I look at it is the number is not the goal. The goal is the lifestyle. The goal is for me to be able to sit at my desk, feel super stoked about what I'm doing, enjoy the whole process, and do it with people that I love. That's it for me.
Do you think that is because of self-awareness and therapy? Meaning,
why me wanting to do it that way?
You wanting to do it that way, meaning that, and obviously there's gray in this. It's not black and white, because we've talked about this before too, where I wanted initially to build the largest business possible from an egoic standpoint, because I wanted to feel important, and I wanted to have significance that I felt like I lost. So I was trying to derive that from something outside of myself. And then as soon as I shifted and went more inward, I recognized that, okay, the big business isn't, yes, I want that thing, but now it's for a different reason. And the reason that I want it now is because I want to be able to impact on a much larger scale, completely different energies that are going into something that on one side, I'm trying to just push for the sake of building a big business, that then I can go back and say, like, look, fuck you, I was able to do this thing. And that's a very vindictive, egoic energy. When on the other side, it's like, okay, I'm wanting to do this now out of service. Now you can grow infinitely, because now you're back in alignment with what's something that's a pulling force rather than a pushing one.
That's awesome. And I would say that it probably comes from me seeing, it probably comes from hockey. It probably comes from me seeing people and going through my own experience of when I get to that next level, like I just need to get to that next level. And when I went and played in Russia and scratched that itch, it was like, okay, the actual circumstances of me making more money, living in a nicer house in a nicer area and all of that, this isn't it. And seeing experiences of other people around me that had that and were pushing and were spending all of this stress and all of this this experience waiting for that one moment for it to like finally be good. It just clicked for me that I was like, okay, it's not like the next thing. So I think when I got into business, I was like, I need to figure out a way to enjoy the actual process. I need to figure out a way to actually enjoy what I'm doing every single day. And then through there, once that actually happened for me, I was like, I genuinely feel like I won. Like I genuinely feel like I beat the game. Like I am waking up, I have money in my bank account to be able to live the way that I want to live. I am not stressed. I have my partner, I have my team, I have friends in my community. I was like, what else do I literally, there's nothing else that I want. I feel like I beat the game. So when I got to that place, I was just like, this is what I want to do. Now, the goal for me is, how big can I build that while still keeping the same feeling? Like, what can I take this to where I still feel this exact same way every day? And if there's a day where I get to that place and it's like, okay, we're here now, and now it's starting to feel too stressful, and now it's starting to feel like we don't enjoy it, and now it's starting to feel like we're tipping the other way, that's where I'll cap the business at. And I'll be like, this is what I can make. This is where I'm at. So that's the kind of process, that's the goal for me, is like, how long can I rock with this feeling of really genuinely enjoying it, working with people I love, feeling good every day? And like, is there a number that like, does it cap at a certain number? Can I build a business that does get bigger while still enjoying this? That's kind of the goal.
Is that because wellness and well-being is such a big part of your life that you recognize that if you were to expand on this side while losing that, it would affect everything?
Expand on what side while losing it?
If you were to expand the business to a point where you would need to have a trade-off and a sacrifice on this side where you would lose lifestyle.
Like I want to live to be 100 plus and be like, we talked about this, blue zones. I want to be happy and healthy while I'm old, and like be functioning and be like, and have family around and really enjoy it. And I think that the number one reason that people don't get to there is because of stress. And I think the number one reason that people end up getting stressed out, particularly in America, is because of their work life. And particularly in entrepreneurs, there's a very strong urgency of, I will build this thing big. When I get the money, the stress will alleviate and I will live happily. And I've seen multiple examples of people that have sold companies are no happier. Actually, a lot of times I would say it's even the opposite. They're even worse. But even people that haven't sold their companies are just on this like sprint to get there. And to me, I'm like, I see that is not the life that I want to be living. The way that I look at it is like, there's no business that is worth me waking up, being anxious, not being happy. There's no business. There's no amount of money in my bank account that will make me wake up and not enjoy my life. And so I look at it the other way, where I'm like, how do I figure out a way to enjoy my life with where the bank account is currently, and then be able to build from there, bank account or business or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to enjoy my life now with the circumstances that there are. And then everything can add on top of that.
As an entrepreneur and a business owner where you are the business, how do you think about wellness and well-being? And what are some of the steps that you've done in order to ensure that you are always showing up as the best version of yourself for the people that rely on you?
The way that I look at that is business is just relationships. Business is all an enormous part of wellness. Arguably all of it is relationship to yourself and relationship to others. And to me, business is it's a mirror of that, or it's like a perfect example of that. It's the relationship that I have with myself, and it's the relationship that I have with others. Because the way I look at transaction in business is you're giving something that somebody finds value. You're not taking something from somebody else and then paying you for it. You're giving something to somebody else that they find value and they will pay you for. So I look at it the same way as relationships. It's like relationships are a two-way street. You have to give, you have to receive. You are putting yourself out there. You are meeting somebody else in where their needs are and trying to help them through it. So business to me is just an extension of my life relationships. And so therefore it is wellness for me. Therefore, the way that I show up in my business is the same way that I want to show up with my family, with my friends, with my community. It's not this like I have my friends and my family, and then I go into business and I turn into this like menace that I'm going in like cutting people out of their things and like making money by taking it from them, which I think entrepreneurship has this like, it has this almost like feeling of like the person that wins is the most ruthless, badass, that's like just a savage. And to me, I'm like, bro, that's not it. I don't think that that's it. I don't think that that's the way that you win. I think the way that you actually win is by being the kindest, by being the nicest, by helping people the most, by giving the most, by treating it the way that you would treat the people that you care about and love the most in your life. And that's how I think people actually win in entrepreneurship. So to me, business is wellness.
I think the false ideology is that it's a zero-sum game, that in order for me to win, you have to lose. When the most fun I've ever had in business is when you're collaborating with someone and people are growing together and you're learning together and you're able to bring this person here and connect the dots here. And like we talked about alignment a little bit at the beginning, it's when you start to find those things that light you up, all these pieces fall into place without you having to do quote unquote much work. And that's when it gets really fucking fun.
So true. Such a great point, dude. When you are actually like in alignment with yourself, throwing out all these words that are very like, very whatever you would call it. But when you actually like feel the closest to yourself, and you just feel like you're doing things because you love them, the amount of things that go good for you without you needing to work for them is absurd. It's absurd. And what the best place that my business has ever been in has been when I am also feeling like I just want to give. I want to help people. I want to like make other people feel good. I feel really good with myself. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I love this person. Things just fall into place.
Are there any specific practices, habits, activities that you do regularly that have allowed you to step more into alignment?
Yeah, a ton. The therapy has been a huge one. I've been going to therapy now it's been 7 years that I've been going to therapy. That was a huge one. I think thinking about what my dream life looks like and like actually mapping towards that, like not just external, actually I would say even more internal. How do I want to feel in my body? How do I want to show up in my conversations? How do I want to, like when I wake up, what do I want to feel like when I wake up? How do I want to think? How do I want to act? Like I do this every year where it's like my dreams of the year. And it's basically like me just writing out like, how do I want to show up in this year? Around me, I feel abundance. In my body, I feel strong. I feel confident. I feel like writing all of this out. And then I'll like read through it and I'll actually like say it back to myself and I'll actually try and feel it in my body. And something about like practicing feeling it allows me to like create this habit of me actually like showing up that way. And that's been a huge, huge thing for me. When I first started doing all the business stuff, I feel like there was I had known that I could get there, but I didn't feel it in my body that like the way I was going to show up. And by doing that, like writing it out the way that I want to show up and then actually like saying it to myself and feeling it, it was weird. I just started showing up that way. And I remember being in a meeting one day and like crushing the meeting and finishing the meeting and being like, holy shit, like 6 months ago, I literally would have not imagined being able to show up this way. And just through practicing it, here I am. And so I continue to do that.
It's all Dispenza work too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even know who he was before doing all that. My therapist and other people kind of gave me prompts to go and do that. But yeah, I love his stuff. He's awesome.
Embody. I love a lot of what he has is very like anecdotal sayings that rhyme. And that's why I think a lot of people subscribe to it, is because it like clicks because it makes sense in their head. But it's Joe, you might know. Dispenza, like what is it? Have the experience or visualize the experience or embody the experience before the actual experience happening. Feel the emotion of the experience before you experience it.
I'm doing that all the time. Like I'm not even joking. I literally am doing that all the time. I am planning for or feeling into the way that I want to show up. Every single day I do this. At both practiced, like listening to a visualization of somebody saying like, picture a goal or picture how you want to show up. Now feel into that or visualize it and then step into that as if you are that person right now. So I do that both practice, but then I would also say throughout the day, I'm like, okay, cool. I have this in a couple hours. How do I want to show up to this? Cool. How am I going to feel when I walk through that door? This is how I'm going to feel. And I feel it in my body. It works. I'm a subscriber.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shit works.
Adding a level of intentionality to everything that you're doing.
Yes.
I like that a lot. Well, we've covered, I think, like 3 or 4 different buckets, and I kind of want to pull them all back together into a tactical ending here. So in a world that's pretty much mediated by screens now, how do you view creating intentional relationships when people are so drawn to having to capture the experience or capture the moment or check in on their phone without actually lifting their head up and being present?
We always will have to meet people where they're at. So it's a mix of both. The answer is you meet them where they're at on the screen and you meet them where they're at in real life. Like for me, I'm like, I can't be the person to judge if somebody is enjoying spending more time on their phone than they are present. Some people are just enjoying their screens more. I can't be the one to judge, but I can be flexible and adapt to the way that they are showing up and I can meet them where they're at. So if I have a goal of, I really want to connect with people, I'm not going and being like, I'm only going to connect with people if it's in person. I'm like, I want to connect with people. I'm going to connect with them in the ways that they care about it and the ways that I care about it. So that's why I put my stuff online. And that's why I'll go and show up to places like Little Lunch and meet people there. So I think it's who are the people you want to meet with? How do you want to interact with them? And how do you meet them where they're currently at?
How do you personally navigate capturing experiences while staying present?
I'd say both. I feel like I'm very able to go into a place, truly experience it, and then know that I'm going to film some content. And it's very easy for me because now I know, like, going into it, I'm going to do both of those things. So I think it's just a practice thing. I think that controlling your attention and your focus and like choosing where you place it is a practice for everybody. So I think it's just being me noticing if I'm like, oh, I haven't been present lately. I've been on my phone a lot. Just me noticing it and be like, cool, let's recorrect that and let's actually be a little bit more present now.
We've also spoken a lot about intuition, but also personal development and going inward / therapy. Are there any philosophers, books, thinkers that have had which of them have had the greatest return on the input that you've put into it?
The person that's for sure impacted my life the most is Gary Vee. It's not even close. Like listening to him, and not even on the business side of things, I think that he doesn't get nearly as much credit for the amount of actual reparenting he's doing for men from age of 18 to probably 50, of just like the way that he operates as a human being. So listening to his content for the past, and I don't do it nearly as much anymore, but when I was just getting into the world of business and knowing that I wanted to be in the world of entrepreneurship, he was the example for me that I saw of a businessman that led with heart, that had way more like what people would typically refer to as soft or feminine skills, and leading with that. So that allowed me to actually see, wait a minute, some beast of an entrepreneur that actually is crushing it and is friends with all these people and is doing this at such a high level, is leading this way. That gave me the okay of being able to do it. So he was the person for that. And then there's all these other, like I think Joe Dispenza is great. I think there's lots of people that you can go and find on YouTube, but just pick who fits your vibe. You will know who it is just by watching and consuming, who like really lights you up. Find that person and then spend time with them.
Fascinating how what we believe to be this preconceived idea of how you're supposed to show up in business, supposed to.
Yeah.
Yet the inverse is actually often the piece that's true.
Honestly, I feel like as an entrepreneur, that's the legacy that I would like to leave. I don't have this goal of people talking about me with a number attached to it, of he built this number. But what I do want people to be able to look at, my kids, other people around me, people that I come across, is them being like, damn, like he actually was able to build something legitimate and do it in a way where he was super kind, and like everybody that he was around he brought those people up with him. That to me feels like a fuck yeah.
Yeah. JT, this morning's been a pleasure. I sincerely appreciate you coming over and hitting the contrast and then recording. To wrap up, and in line with the podcast title itself, Inputs Only, which is the input within your control that dictates the outcome people desire. What is the biggest input in relation to social media that's had the highest return for you?
Showing up consistently. Put yourself out there consistently. As much as you possibly can, put yourself out there, and you will be surprised at what comes back.